Hi, I'm Mike Bellevue, and as the black powder editor for Guns of the Old West magazine, I spend most of my time with the firearms of the 19th century frontier. But today I'd like to take a little step backwards in time and go to an earlier frontier, the 18th century colonial frontier, and take a look at the most prevalent firearm that you would have found, which is the smoothbore musket or fowling piece. Smoothbore fowlers are very versatile. They give you the option of shooting either round ball or shot. And in this video, we're going to look at loading techniques for round ball. And in part two, we will take a look at how to handle shot charges. And everybody thinks of the rifle as being the arm of the colonial frontier, you know, the Kentucky rifle and Daniel Boone. But the fact is, rifles didn't become prevalent until the late 1750s, 1760s into the 1770s. It really wasn't until Pontiac's rebellion that you start seeing a lot of rifles around. What you saw for most of the 18th century would have been one of these, which is a fowling piece. And these were light, smoothbored. The military versions, called military muskets, had a provision for a bayonet on the end, which the civilian ones did not. But you would have seen these right through the 18th century. Even after rifles came into vogue, there were probably still more of these on the frontier than there would have been rifles at any point in time. Well, my Fowler is made by Tennessee Valley Muzzleloading, and it's a flintlock with a 20 gauge octagon to round barrel, and as you can see where the transition occurs on the barrel, there's a little decorative piece called the wedding band. Basically, this gun would have been at home over any fireplace, on any cabin in the colonies in the 1700s. This is the powder horn and shooting bag that I use for the TVM Fowler. And here's what I carry inside the main compartment of the bag. Up in the little pouches, I carry a little primer. I like to use this, even though sometimes I prime right out of the horn. I think it's handy to have some 4F around if you need it. So that has 4F powder, and it's got a little plunger for priming the pan. I also carry a couple of cleaning tools. This is a jag that fits the 20 gauge bore, and this is a toe worm. And a little vent pick, make sure the vent's clear. And just a tiny little forged screwdriver. Now, one of the beauties of the smoothbore, of a fowling piece, over a rifle, is that it can shoot either round balls or shot, and I carry materials for shooting both. So this bag right here carries my round balls. And if I can get one out, it'd be handy. There we go. Usually they're easier, but I crammed this pretty full for today's session. So I'm shooting 0.610 inch diameter balls. 20 gauge is 0.615 inches in diameter, so this is just slightly undersized. And I've tried a lot of different round balls. In fact, I've got to admit, getting this smoothbore to shoot right has been more difficult than any rifle that I've ever worked with. So for round balls, I've done everything from 0.58 up to these 0.61s. As it turns out, the 0.61s are the ones that shoot the best for me. Now, we got this little pouch here, and this little pouch is full of felt wads. And these are very important for the loading process, and I'll explain it when I'm loading, but I punch those out of a regular white wool felt material. I use this punch that I got from Dixie Gun Works, 20 gauge punch, and it just knocks them out. And I'll show you how I use those. Now, this bag contains something called tow, which can be used for cleaning or for wadding. It's flax fibers. And then there's my shot. So this pouch hold shot, and this little measure throws a 1 ounce charge. So that's everything in the bag. Let's load up that fowling piece and show you how that goes. Okay, let's show you how to load the 20 gauge TVM smoothbore Fowler. Now, loading on camera, flintlock is not my most favorite thing to do because it's hard to keep things in the frame and still stay safe. So bear with me and I'll show you what I do. First thing I want to show you is, even though in the field I would use my ramrod right here, when I'm at the range I like to use a range rod. It's a steel rod and it's got a muzzle protector on it. Keeps from wearing out your gun. More important on a rifle than it is on a smoothbore, but still it's a good thing to have. So, got the gun, got our powder. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to fill this powder measure with 110 grains of 2F GoX powder. And we'll just pour that baby right on in. Cap the horn back up. And we'll be good to go. Now, the next step is I'm going to use this felt wad. Now, there are a lot of different methods for loading a smoothbore. And a lot of people these days just take an undersized ball and a greased cloth patch and load it the same way they would load a muzzle-loading rifle. And that works just fine, and I've done that plenty myself, but that's probably not an authentic way of loading them for the 18th century. There's really no documentary evidence that anybody patched round balls in muskets. So there are a couple of authentic ways of loading, and I'm going to show you one. There are others. You can use cut paper, you can use leather wads, you could use just tow. But I'm going to show you what works for me, and this is an authentic method. I've showed you already. I use these wool wads, and this material is 100% pure wool. It comes from the Durafelt company. And I'm just going to pop that in, and I'm going to send it home. Alright, so I'm going to get that down on top of my powder. And now I'm going to take this 610 ball, and I'm just going to get it going. Now, these things of course vary slightly in diameter from ball to ball, but some of them drop in easier, some of them are a little bit harder to get down, but they will all go down whether the bore is fouled or if it's clean. I can load them all day without cleaning. Now, the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bag of tow, right, these flax fibers, and I'm going to pull a pinch of those off and roll them up into just a little wad. And I'm going to put that in, and that's going to keep the ball from coming out. So that's going to keep my load all tamped down. Now, I had to work pretty hard to find a load that worked with the smoothbore and that was accurate shot to shot. I found it was much harder to do than with any rifle, muzzleloading rifle I've owned. But eventually I came on this very heavy powder charge and a pretty tight ball for a smoothbore that shoots fairly well, but we're not talking sniper rifle quality here. I mean, you know, you can get a deer at 50 to 75 yards. You get a bad guy, you know, if a hostile was coming at you, but these things are nowhere near as accurate as a rifle shot to shot. So we'll show you how that goes. Now, the last step in the loading process I won't do until I'm ready to shoot it, and that's to put priming in the pan. So let's go on over and make some smoke. Well, we've got Evil Roy, or maybe I should call him Colonial Roy, lurking 50 yards downrange. We've got the TVM 20 gauge fowling piece loaded up with a round ball, and let's see if we can make Roy sing. Now, first thing I have to do is prime this piece. I'm going to put it on half cock. And I'm going to prime it. You only want enough priming to get a flame into that touch hole. You don't want to have, in fact, you should never cover the touch hole with priming. It just slows down the propagation of that flame. So we're all set to go. Put it on full cock, and let's see if we can hit Roy. Whacked him. Okay, you guys who get on my case for shooting 2-liter bottles because they're too easy to hit are really going to be all over me now, because I'm going to shoot a gallon bottle. But with this smoothbore, even that's not a slam dunk. We'll see if I hit it. Yeah! Well, stay tuned for part 2, where we'll show you how to load the Fowler with shot.